To appreciate how accomplished players like Hagen, Nelson, Snead, and McSpaden were, is to understand the course conditions of their time. The fairways were firm and uneven and frequently bare. The greens were bumpy, inconsistent, and unpredictable. You couldn't clean your ball when it reached the putting surface, and the green speeds would change with each new hole. Great players adapt to changing conditions, and the winning scores of the 30s and 40s on courses still used on tour today stand as testimony to the skills of names from yesterday. Let me throw a few names at you, Jug, that people don't hear much anymore. What about Kai Laffoon? He was a great player, wasn't he?
Kai Laffoon was one of the best players in this country for about 3 years. He could hit the ball very straight, and he had a brother that when he was a professional in Glen Gables in Denver, they would make him practice hitting iron shots to bushes, 50 yards away, 150 yards away, 200 yards away. If he landed the ball in that little bush, he'd hit the green pretty close to the hole.
You bet.
But then he had something else that was great. It really stunned me. He had some big power lines running through the golf course with great big telephone poles. And he would stand back at 100 yards, 150, and 200 yards and try to hit the pole. Now, a pole is only a foot wide. If you can hit a foot, if you even come close to hit a foot wide telephone pole, you don't have any trouble with a 20 or 30 yard fairway or a 40-yard fairway. But more important, when the ball went past the pole, you could see whether it hooked or sliced. Then he could take care of it, take the slice off or take the hook off.
Now, you've told me that there's three parts to the game: on the ground, in the air, and in your head.
Right.
Now, Kai had the in the air game, but he had a little trouble with the in the head and on the ground, didn't he?
Well, he'd get mad occasionally.
Tell me the honeysuckle bush story. Do you know that one?
No.
Well, tell me one of the stories about Kai getting mad.
Well, I don't know. I've seen him pick up and walk off the golf course. That's getting mad.
I mean, I heard that there were times where he would, after a bad hole, if he'd miss a putt, he would punish the putter by going and beating it against a bush, and that his wife said to him, if you lose your temper again, the marriage was over. And in the next week, he played himself into contention, and he missed a short putt and started to hit a honeysuckle bush, and she came over and said, the marriage is over. And he said, no, it's not the golf, honey, it's just that I hate honeysuckle. Now, is that the kind of thing that he would do?
I don't know. That's a new one on me.
Let's see what Terry from Arizona has. Hello, Terry. Are you there?
Yeah, pleasure to talk to you.
Same here.
On the equipment, I've noticed that some of the tour players are still using blades, and there's a lot of great perimeter weighting out there and people talking about how wonderful it is. And you hear players like Payne Stewart, he was using blades for a while, and then he's back, then he used the perimeter weighted, and he goes back to blades. Do you think that you get a more true feeling and a better response with the blade?
I can't answer that, except that some clubs feel better than others. And that's what you're looking for. That's the reason why the pros change drivers or change iron clubs, because there's a feel sometimes that you don't feel all the time. In fact, when you get a club that you think you like, whether it's an 8-iron or a 4-iron, that means you feel like you're going to knock that ball right against the hole every time you use that club. So what you're really driving, or what the pros are trying to do, is to get the whole set, whether it's a 4-wood or a 4-iron or whatever, so that when these fellows stand back and take aim at that flag, see, in the first place, when he stands out there, he's got to figure out how far is it. Then he has to figure out how much the backswing is going to be, how hard he's going to hit it, how high he takes, whether he takes turf, whether he doesn't, whether he springs the shaft and let the shaft spring the ball. There's so many variables in this thing that makes the ball. In other words, if you catch the ball just right and it springs the shaft, it doesn't make the ball go farther, it just puts more spin on the ball. And that's the reason why you see a ball hit that way. When it hits the green, it backs up.
Now, when you and Byron were playing, particularly in 44 and 45, the greens were nothing like they are today.
Oh, I've seen fairways better than the greens we used to put on.
But you guys used to be able to stop the golf ball.
Right, we used to back it up. In fact, there was a time I was good enough I could make a stop on the first bounce or the second bounce or the third bounce.
How did you do that?
Well, I can't tell you.
That's a secret?
Of course.
Okay. We're going to take a short break. We're going to be right back with more Jug McSpaden right after this. Before we start to take some more phone calls, let me throw another name at you from the time. Ralph Goodall. How great was he?
Great player. For about 3 to 5 years, he was the best player in the world. And in fact, way back when, I didn't realize till I found out later that actually Goodall and Hogan and Nelson all grew up together, except the other two were in Fort Worth and Dallas, but mostly Fort Worth. And Goodall was from Houston. But Goodall did something that I've never seen done before. I'm playing right ahead of him in the National Open at Cherry Hills in Denver.
38.
And 38, okay. And I had a chance to win it myself, except I put the ball in the clubhouse in the hot dog stand from the 9th sand trap.
Did you play it out of there?
We came off the 17th hole, and I have finished, signed my card, and given it to Joe Dye. Goodall is just finished, and he says to the caddy, "Where's the next tee?" He won the tournament, didn't know it was over.
And he won that tournament by 6 shots.
Well, but he didn't know what he was playing, shot for shot and hole for hole.
Where's the next tee?
Where's the next tee? I heard him say it.
Today they would say he was in the zone.
Well, or something.
Beyond the zone.
And then he was at such a concentration that it affected him mentally. Finally, 3 years later, Nelson and I played at San Francisco Harding Park. He was paired with us. We shoot 68-9, he didn't break 80.
Now they said that.
He never became a good player again.
What did you attribute that to? What happened?
Mental.
Because I understood that they asked him to do an instruction book. He had just won back-to-back Opens. He'd won the Western Open 3 times.
He probably found how to play.
And never was able to do it again after that.
Well, that's the reason why the best way to learn how to play, and especially all young people under 30, can imitate. As you get over 30, you can imitate. Not very much, very well. But if you learn how to do it and do it right, and don't know all the little where your elbows are and your fingers and your hands and your hips and your weight and 6 other things, you're trying to think of all those things, you have no chance.
Did you play your best golf when you thought about nothing?
Yes. Except that you got to keep your eye on that ball and make sure you look at it till club goes past it.
You said it, Nelson said it, and Jones said it. That's good enough for all of us. Let's go ahead and take some phone calls, okay Jug?
Shoot.
Let's talk to Mark from North Carolina. Hello, Mark.
Hi there.
How you doing?
I'd like to ask you about equipment. We've talked about different forms of equipment through various players, but I'd like to know what Mr. McSpaden is playing now and how it's changed through the years.
Well, I'm using Hogan's clubs, irons, and the woods are one of the famous ones. That isn't. It's made in California, and they're very good clubs.
Cleveland?
No.
Okay. That's a California club.
No, but it's.
Well, no matter.
No, but I like my clubs, and main thing I used an old wooden shaft putter that I'd weighted many years before, and I sent and one thing I'll say about that old putter, sent a lot of good men home.
How good did you and Byron putt when you won 6 times in 44 and he won all those events in 45? You know, people said that he wasn't such a great putter, but you don't average 69 and he doesn't average 68 when you're not making putts.
Nobody can break 70 or win golf tournaments without making putts. And what I couldn't believe, and we're talking about Riviera again, is and how many spike marks I saw. That Els had 25 putts 2 days in a row.
Unbelievable.
That's unbelievable. That's 11 under par each time.
And he only had 27 on the 3rd day. I mean, it was incredible after 3 rounds.
Do you realize what I'm talking about? You're 11 under par each day with the putting. But as I've told you, one's on the ground with the putter, one's in the air with the irons, one's in the mental, and that's what happened to them when they get to that level.
In fairness to Ernie, though, he's so young that isn't he going through the learning how to win a major championship in the fourth round phase of his career, like Watson did, for example, 20 years ago?
He's going to be a better player, and he's young and strong, and what, 25?
Right.
So he's got 5 years up to 15. He's going to be. Can you imagine him being a senior player at 35 and 40?
No. I think he's going to be a world beater.
He
and
could
I think
be.
this is a phase that he's going through, learning how to win.
He could be, but there's no guarantee.
I'm not guaranteeing it. Let's go ahead and take some more calls. Let's see. We've got Herb from Indiana. Hello, Herb.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Well, doing fine. Listen, I read a Sam Snead book one time, and he mentioned a fellow by the name of Titanic Thomas, who was a hustler. Now, he was down here in southern Indiana and southern Illinois. Snead said he could have been the best golfer in the world if he'd have taken up golf seriously and quit hustling. I just wonder if Jug knew him.
Titanic Thompson.
I knew him. Titanic Thompson.
Right. Tell us a couple of stories.
He pulled every shenanigan in the world, and he would amaze you if you met him, because he looked like a preacher, dressed like a preacher, tall, stately, high collar, funny hat, and dressed, but he was the best left-hander I ever saw until I saw the pro from Australia.
But he would bet on anything, right?
Oh, he'd bet you on, but things that he'd already checked out.
Like throwing a peanut over the wall, but there was a piece of metal in his peanut,
probably
right?
a ball bearing in there.
Right.
But in the meantime, many years ago, I played against him when I was about 18 or 19. And there was a judge there in town. He used to gamble with Titanic. Listen, this man carried $10,000 with him all the time. And he'd play for any part of it, the whole 10 if you wanted. But in the meantime, they bet $500. The judge bet $500 on me against him. And we were playing at the golf course there in Kansas City. And at the 9th hole, we were both in 34 or 35. And Titanic says to the judge, let's go to town. And the judge says, well, we're not finished yet. We got 9 more to go. And Titanic says, well, he said, I'm not sure I can beat this boy. I'm not sure he can beat me. He said, we're wasting our time. So we played 9 holes.
And that was it?
That was the only time I ever really met the man. And that's why I'm ever part of every hole.
He played for the love of the money as opposed to for the love of the game, right?
He strictly was money. He was a gambler from any way you want to look at it.
Wasn't he on the lam? Wasn't his real name something Montague, and he was really on the lam?
I knew Montague. It wasn't Montague.
It wasn't?
No, sir. No, I know that. What he was in the room with I'm going to say Rothschild, or that got killed that time, and they had him.
Rothstein?
That's
Arnold
right.
Rothstein?
Right.
Okay, sure.
Had him they was in the same room when he got killed.
Arnold Rothstein was the guy who was accused of setting the fix in the 1919 World Series when Shoeless Joe Jackson and the Black Sox were banned forever.
Well, anyhow, Thompson was in the room, supposedly.
Good story. We're going to take a short break.
Okay.
We'll be right back. You weren't in the room.
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure. We'll be right back with Jug.
Money to be in the room with it.
With Jug McSpaden right after this. Augusta National, the course that Jones built. The most hallowed ground in golf inspires both players and spectators alike. It's a special place, timeless and unforgettable. If there's a golf course in heaven, I hope it's like Augusta National. I just don't want an early tee time. Gary Player. There's a saying around Georgia that the Augusta National Golf Club is the closest thing to heaven for a golfer, and it's just as hard to get into. Sports writer Joe Geschweiler. And Chichi Rodriguez remembers Augusta National this way. I was so nervous at the Masters that I drank a fifth of rum before I played. I shot the happiest 83 of my life. How great was it in 1934 at the first Masters when you played a practice round with Bobby Jones?
Well, I was surprised that he didn't play better than he did. He drove the ball well. He hit pretty good iron shots. And his chipping was not up to par. Where he normally should have chipped the ball up and knocked the putt in, he'd take 3 to get in. He shot 76 or 7 or something like that, which wasn't great. Wasn't bad for a man that hadn't played in 2 or 3 years.
That's right. I mean, at this point, he was devoted full-time to his law practice and running and getting the tournament started.
Well, he had all those Coca-Cola franchises, too.
He was doing okay then, wasn't
About
he?
half a dozen of them, at least.
We're going to go ahead and see. We got Clay from Texas. Hello, Clay. Are you there?
You know, you've been bringing up a lot of the old, interesting characters that we have all heard about over the years. I wanted to toss a couple more out. Lefty Stackhouse. And I don't know if you heard another guy named Cotton Kilpatrick at all. My dad used to talk about him as a long driver, and I know he used to hit it a long way. And he said he used to carry the ball about 300 yards back in the old days with those old, 80 compression balls. Maybe you can comment about a couple of those guys.
Well, Stackhouse I knew very well, and he was a good player, but Peter just mentioned a while ago about Laffoon hitting the bush. Well, Stackhouse would do something worse. He'd miss an iron shot or miss a drive. And those days, way back when they had tee boxes of wood with sand in one end and water in the other to help tee up the ball, he'd take his hand over there and lay it on top of the bend, the box, and hit it with the club. He said, I'll teach you to have a hook or what have you. I've seen him do this.
Is it true that he also used to, when he would drive to the next tournament, attach his putter to a string and hold it out the door on the highway to punish it for being bad?
That's possible.
Does that sound like him?
Yeah, it could be.
Okay. Jim from Alabama, welcome to Golf Talk Live.
Mr. McSpaden?
Yes.
I missed the first part of the program, so I don't know how old you are.
87.
87. Well, you were a hero of mine, and I grew up, you played an exhibition in Birmingham one time, and that had a big influence on me continuing to play golf.
Well, good.
You and Byron Nelson.
Well, that's great because he was playing well, and I hope I was playing just as well. But at least I'll say that it must have helped some because you're still alive. That's a long time ago.
And you've got every hair on your head. How'd you do that?
Why not?
No, that's a good thing. That's a good trick.
How old are you? The man from Texas.
I think he left us.
Oh, okay.
He's 88 though. He's much older. Joel from New York. Hello, Joel.
What kind of advice could you give to a weak 10-foot and in putting game?
To a what?
A weak 10-foot putting game. You know, short-range putting.
10-footers. What's the secret?
The secret is practice, getting the feel of how hard to hit the ball. Just remember one thing, that rarely do you get a straight putt. And so the best thing you must remember is to bring it in from the top, whether it's from the right or the left, because when it comes in from the side, you have the full 4 1/4 inches. If you try to go straight in, you've got to drive it in. And if you saw the golf tournament yesterday, you saw a ball go in and swing clear back to you.
That was Ernie.
That was a tough one, but that does happen. But the most important thing is I would say it's almost a push. When you get greens that are so fast that all you have to do is turn the ball over, the main thing is to get the blade square. Let's assume you do have a straight putt. Get the blade square and just push it into the hole. Just push it. You have to hit it, yeah, but you don't tap it or you don't give it a lot of wrist action. It's strictly a push.
And what's the grip pressure on that jug?
Very firm, so that when you hit it and you start to turn over, it's so solid, it keeps on rolling.
Okay, great answer. Bob from Ohio, thanks for calling.
Good evening, Peter. Jug, I have a real interesting question. How much difference, we know today's touring pros have real good yardage markers all the way on the golf courses. How much of a difference are the yardage markers back in your era as compared to what they are now today? How much of a difference, and what type of markings did they use on the golf course for 150, 175, 200-yard markers and that type of markings?
Well, I don't understand what you're saying, Mario. In those days, they didn't have markers.
How did you judge distance?
You just looked, eyeball. And once in a while, if you were lucky, you had a good caddy. a very good caddy, that after he'd caddied for you once or twice, he could judge your distance almost exactly to 5 or 10 feet, how far you could hit a 3-iron or a 4-iron or a 6-iron or a 7-iron, and so could the player.
These guys wouldn't go anywhere without the yardage book today, right?
Well, the book, they've got caddies, and they've got caddies that they're paying by the day and by the week. Right now, these are all paid caddies, these hot shots. And whatever they're making isn't enough, probably. These guys are making so much more money, they're bailing it.
We're going to be right back with Jug McSpaden for a few more minutes right after this. If you have questions or comments that you'd like to share about Golf Talk Live, send them to us at 7580 Commerce Center Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32819. Welcome back to Golf Talk Live. You had some comments as we took a break about Phil Mickelson, who you have an interest in. He's a brilliant young player. Go ahead and air that thought for me.
It looked like he was going to be a real winner. And then I think the thing that started him down the track was somebody talked him into going skiing, and he broke a leg. And he hadn't played very well since.
Certainly not consistent since then.
Right, and he has a beautiful swing, and appears to be a very fine young guy, and he's hardly 25.
You know, when you left the tour, as Byron did, it was at a fairly early age. Any regrets ever at having left at the time that you did?
No. I was so sick of playing, I just never wanted to play anymore.
Because you played so many weeks out of the year?
I played 42 weeks a year for years and years. It seemed to me I knew all the courses backwards.
As you think about those times when you do, what's sort of the fondest memory of that 44, 45 period when you and Byron were dominating golf? You were the best of friends. You were at the top of your game. What's the most special thing that occurs to you about that time?
Oh, I don't know. It still was hard to travel because we were traveling by train occasionally, but car most of the time. And I can tell you how far it is from one town to another.
Couldn't you still feel the steering wheel when you got out of the car?
Well, for instance, it's 3,300 miles from Miami to L.A., 1,000 miles or 1,200 miles from L.A. to Portland, 600 from Dallas to El Paso. You name it.
Was there a spirit of adventure, though?
Oh, come on. We were all trying to make a living. In the meantime, what happened about that time, he was playing great and I was playing great. He just had more incentive, I guess, than I did. But the point was that it was fun playing because we weren't taking many shots.
Well, I'll tell you, and it's been fun having you here. You've been a great guest, and to talk about those times with you is special for not only those of us who work on the show, but for our viewers who love the game as much as we do, and I want to thank you for being here.
I've enjoyed it.
And I want to thank all of you for being here. We'll see you next week right here on Golf Talk Live at 8 o'clock. Thanks for being with us.